Okay, so we are live. I'm going. All right, so we are live and welcome to episode 444 of the Women's Empowerment Series. It's such an honor to have with me an amazing guest from Switzerland, Josefine Wanner. And we are absolutely so excited to have a beautiful conversation that everyone is waiting for. So, welcome, Josephine. I would like
Th-
to let you say a bit about you, please. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Hynd. I'm so happy to be here, and I feel really honored to be here with you and to talk about what's really important to both of us. And so my name is Josephine Wanner. I live in Switzerland, but I'm originally from Sweden. So that is why when I speak German or when I speak Swedish or not when I speak Swedish, that's my native language, but when I
It's
speak
native,
English,
yeah?
yeah, that I have an accent. I was in corporate for almost 20 years until a um, heartbreak almost made me take a very strong decision or hard decision, and I decided to leave my position. I handed in my resignation, but I'm
Wow.
sure that we will get to that.
Oh,
I'm
yes,
like an
because
open book. I will talk
you
about
know what?
everything.
Absolutely. And you started right on because that's what everybody goes through. So, welcome everyone to this Women Empowerment platform. Let us know where you're connecting from. We would like to greet you. And if you have any comments, just put it in the chat and to me or to Josephine or to myself so that we can really interact with you. So, and also if you're watching us on replay, do so and just put hashtag replay. And I'm sure that we will come back and Josephine as well to answer your comments. So, this is fascinating because, yes, everyone mainly when you have a 20 years experience in corporates, and I congratulate you for that because that shows a lot of your authority and authority as a high level executive, as a female leader as well. And so what is the challenges? I mean, a lot of people face challenges. Some of them know how to handle them, some of them get swamped by them. So what is the trigger that made you feel more empowered through your executive career?
Well, that was actually one of the things that finally made me take the decision that I don't want to do this any longer. Because I didn't feel as empowered as I needed to be in the role that I was in. I was a senior executive in one of Switzerland's largest banks, and and had been there for 10 years. So I had kind of moved internally 5 times, and I've held different executive roles. And it's a very big organization, and that also makes it very slow, very slow sometimes. And
Yes.
there were certain things that I felt that in my role that I needed to take decisions. And empowerment is so important that when someone sets up an organization or the corporate culture or whatever it might be, make sure that your employees are empowered to take and make the decisions that they want and need to make. I was the
Mhm.
um, subject matter expert in that area where I was in, but I
Okay.
still wasn't empowered to take the decisions that I needed to take to move things forward.
Wow. Why did you feel that? I mean, this is interesting because I think everybody can relate to you. We have people connecting. Hello, Stefan. Hello, Ali Muzaman. So, connecting from different places of the world, from Oslo, from Bangladesh, from Casablanca. So, welcome everyone. And these problems are really general. I mean,
Yeah.
as an executive in any place, whether it is in Switzerland, whether it is in Morocco, in New York, in Dubai, in anywhere, what is that feeling of not being empowered to actually contribute as you want to, because you know that you have the ideas? What does that feeling come from? Is it the leaders usually? Is it the management? Is it the process? Is it just the structure of being an executive? What do you
I
think?
I think it's actually a combination of everything. And also when organizations grow, when organizations are built and they are developed, if an organization is built around a person, because that can happen too, that you start creating a team or an organization department or whatever it might be around a person, not so much about the function, but around the person. You also create kind of like garden thinking of that person. That person doesn't want to let others in, and it might kind of like hold that off. And it's the same thing when it comes about controls. I was in a control function, I was in risk management, and when it comes to control and information, that is, if people don't share information, if they don't let you have control, you or take decisions or kind of conduct certain controls, you are like, how do you say, like handcuffed. You can't do certain things, right? Even though you would like to do them like the best that you could, and that would also be best for the organization as such. So I think it's a combination of what is the leadership like? What is the tone from the top? How are the processes set up? How are the controls conducted? And is just to do something because we've done something is not the right way, or just to create a control function so that you can keep the power within a certain area. That's also not the way to do it.
Incredible. This is so powerful what you just said, because that's exactly what we often feel, is that, you know, the not sharing information could be coming from a sense of wanting to control and be the only one with those information. And it could impact the team, it could impact people, because then you're not feeling that you can fully contribute because you're lacking information, even if you have a good intention on doing so.
But also the other way around. I had a small team in one of my functions, and I wanted to share everything, all the information that they needed, or that I thought, this is not so sensitive, I can share this with them, because I was in a bank, so you can't share everything. But when I got certain information, it could be project management information or whatever it might be, I shared it with my team. And there was one guy, and he was like, it kind of stressed him because he didn't know what to do with this information. So what do you expect? So when you share information in your role as a leader, also make sure that this is kind of like what the intention is. For me, it was the intention just so that they felt that they were involved, and I didn't expect. Exactly.
And they belong to the team.
Exactly. I didn't expect them to take any action on it or anything, but it was just to share, to make sure that they had all the information they needed if they would have to, make a decision when I wasn't in the room or whatever, right?
This is very interesting, Josefine, because when you do that and somebody reacts that you get all the information, you don't know what to do with it. Isn't it because he's programmed with the old way of being where no information is shared? So as soon as you give him information, it's like, I'm lost. I don't know what to do with it. So it brings more stress. So it means like there is a real change that needs to be done in the deepest way of feeling belonging to an organization, which means even if you come in and you want to shift it and change it, you might have its other reactions. People will be too scared. Oh, she's too open. She's too nice. She's too sharing. How would you handle that? Yeah, it's true.
Exactly. And I think independently of what you do, that's something that I've started. If it's in a newsletter, or if it's in a post, or if it's like when I do a sales talk or whatever it might be, always say why you're doing something. Because if you don't, they will make up their own mind on what it is, why you're doing something, and then it's better that you've actually put it out there. So if I would have told him or told the team when I shared that information, this is just for your information, I just want to share with you guys, you don't need to take any action on this now, but this is kind of connected to this project that we're working on, or whatever it might be, right? So to say why are you doing something, why are you sharing something, to make it very clear. Or why do you have certain controls, or why are certain people not allowed to take certain decisions? If you're not able to explain that why, then probably you need to go over and look at it again.
Which means the communication is key, really. I mean, you have to communicate and communicate openly. If you are ready to be open about sharing, then be ready to be open about communicating about everything. I love that. That's very good.
Yeah, definitely. And it's actually even better to communicate and say, we don't know anything, but by Friday or Sunday or Thursday or whatever next week, we will have some answers. To do that also very proactively when you do your communication, even when you don't know anything.
And you give them a frame, so not too much stress. Otherwise, people feel stressed. If there is no frame, then you get stressed, and that applies to everything. So obviously, you had such a beautiful and high level position as an executive. What made you decide to become an entrepreneur? Because that's the toughest thing. It's like everyone has a dream. It's like, oh my God, if I was the entrepreneur, if I was the owner, if I was the CEO, I would have done things. But you really did it. And well done to you, Josephine.
Well,
How did
thank you,
you?
and likewise. Well, I actually never wanted to be an entrepreneur because my dad had been an entrepreneur all his life. I had only seen the struggles that he had been doing, and I hadn't seen, the freedom, or that he got to choose who he worked with, or that he got to decide every day what he wanted to do. I only saw the struggles. And
Mm,
so it was never on my plan to do anything about it. But then as my career kind of progressed, and I became 40 plus something, I started realizing that this wasn't really what I wanted in the first place. I was just following what my mother in particular, what she thought would be good for me. So I had started a career, and then you get a little bit flattered because I got into these positions, and I got into the different leadership roles, etc. And so I stayed there, but there was something that wasn't really, feeling right. So I started talking to friends of mine. We started to brainstorm about businesses. We did these, classical SWOT analysis, which I would never advise anyone to do because they only
No,
get you
I agree. That's so
stuck.
true. Yes, too much details, too many numbers, and those things, they just drive you crazy
Yeah,
because the brain
yeah,
is too smart. It will collect everything to confuse you more. Yeah, I
exactly,
agree.
and it just
So
keep
you
you
did a
stuck.
SWOT analysis if whether you stay to or leave?
No. We did it on two different business ideas. So I
Okay.
did it on one business idea with two friends, and we did it on a different business idea with two other friends. But we got stuck in this analysis paralysis. We didn't really dare. We didn't even dare to do any market research. We didn't dare to ask people whether this would be
Mm,
services that they would be interested in.
mm,
So instead of doing the SWOT analysis, start talking to people. That would be
mm,
my very first advice. So
mm.
I had these kind of feelings that I wanted to do something else. I wanted to create my own corporate culture. I wanted to be able to work in an equal
I like
equal
that.
company.
Mm.
But I had been in the same organization for 10 years. So I was like, oh, I probably can't do this, or
Yeah.
who would,
How can I leave?
how can
Because
I leave? Exactly. What can I do?
it's your family now. It's like your lifestyle, right? It's just hard.
Yeah. And my best friends were in there.
Of
So
course.
one day I learned that my father had incurable cancer. And my Google research said that he would have 3 more months to live.
Oh
And
my
I was
God.
like, this could be anyone. This could be me.
Wow.
So I stopped counting my days until my retirement because that was what I had been doing more or less. And I handed in
Mm,
my resignations. 4 weeks
yes.
after we got that diagnosis, I handed in my resignations. 2 weeks afterwards, my father passed away. He didn't get
Oh
those three
my
months.
God.
Yeah,
I'm
all he
so
got was 6 weeks.
sorry. So it
Yeah,
was
I know it's really
it's
horrible,
it's
but it was
hurtful.
also my really
Yeah.
true and really kind of like scary wake up call, which made me take a very hard decision to just leave.
So it was triggered from a very deep pain, really, for you to
Yeah,
wake up and realize that life is now. It's now.
yeah,
Everything you do is now. Wow.
exactly,
I'm so
exactly.
sorry to hear that, Josephine. I didn't know
But we
that
were
was.
lucky in a way. This was pre-COVID, so we got to be with
Mm,
him um,
sure.
his last week together with my sister and myself and my mom, and and you can't really it happens what happens, right? And it's just to take what are the learnings you take from these horrible things. Wake up calls can be that you lose someone, or that you get seriously ill yourself, or that you are
You
being
get
sacked.
close. I think what
Yeah,
you're saying also, Josephine, it's like you get close to
yeah,
questioning yourself. What's the meaning of life?
yeah,
Why are we doing what we're doing?
yeah,
Why? What are we
exactly,
getting out of this, really? And
exactly.
when you find yourself in a train and habits that are continuous, right? Because they don't stop, then what is the meaning that
Yeah,
you want?
and And I
Mm.
had sleepless night. I had stomach ache. I was afraid opening my email in the morning. And that's not a life. It doesn't
No.
matter how much you make every month if that is your kind of the daily routine. When my husband asked me on Sundays what are you doing next week, I was like, stop it, don't talk about it. I don't even want to think about what I was doing, what I was going to do next week. And
Wow.
now it's so different. And I jump out of bed in the morning. I'm excited to start my day. I get to structure my day as I want to. Of course, I have certain things because we need structure even as
Of course, but that
entrepreneurs.
you're so good at it, right? You're so good at it. This is what you've done your whole life, and you keep
Yeah,
that. Actually, probably
exactly.
the
Yeah.
most enjoyable part of it. You're like, "Ooh, let me go back to being the executive." I know.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
in the beginning, I was like, oh no, I'm not going to have any meetings, any structured meetings. I was like, I'm
Yeah.
so done with this whole project management thingy that I had been doing for most of my life.
Yeah.
But then you kind of go back a little bit but somewhere in the middle, because the person I had become in that corporate situation that I was in wasn't the person that I wanted to be. I had to find back to myself, and that
Of
takes
course.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the way you say it because it's so true. And we grow, as you grow, you change also your own identity. And then you look back, you're like, maybe that you needed to have a wake-up call to become the amazing person you are today.
Oh
And
yes.
sometime, yeah, and it's that's the only way you can really overcome and go through a grief process and a grief cycle is by reaching a point where you're like, okay, what I'm gonna make now out of this? How can I use this to deepen my wisdom and to actually use it to
Mhm.
become somebody that contributes? This is very powerful, Josephine, and I congratulate you really for that. I'm sure even your children must have seen the changes in the around you, right? It's
Yeah, my
like,
youngest son, he was very annoyed, by the way, when I said I had quit, because what they have here in Switzerland is that the kids get to visit their parents for a
at work.
day at work. Yeah. And
Ah,
my oldest son had been with me to the bank several times. And my youngest son, he was so looking forward to this, that, the day when he would get to
to
come with me
go.
to the
Yeah.
bank. Yeah. And when I told him that I had handed in my resignation, I was not going to be at the bank any longer, he was so angry. He was like, "Are you no longer a boss at the bank?" And I was like, "No, I'm not." It's not as if I ran around at home saying I'm the boss at the bank, but it was how he had kind of interpreted it. But I
Incredible.
think,
Uh-huh. So
but I,
what are you doing now to cover it? You take him from the room to your office. You're like, come and visit my mom's office here.
exactly. No, it's not until a year's time. So I think let's see what happens in a year. You never know how much can happen in 365
Of
days.
course.
So let's
Well,
see where I'm there. And then, and worst case, he could just go with my husband or with someone that I know who's still, because my friends are still at the bank, some of them at
or
least.
you do organize real meetings with your clients and take him along. He's like, okay, he's my assistant today. I think it's even more fun because I always feel that children, when they see their parents and their mom in particular going after her dream, working and owning her space as a
Mm.
CEO of her own life, it gives them also they open their consciousness. It's like, me too, I can have a dream. Let me be more creative. Let me really dream of what's possible for me, not just follow a mold that everybody has followed, and that's very freeing for the children as well.
Yeah, and I mean that is also one of the things that drives me to be an inspiration for my kids.
Mm.
And my oldest, he's 16 now. He has kind of started the next level of his education, and that is also to keep it as open as possible, and not that they have to choose when they are 16 or 15 or whatever it might be, and definitely not that mom or dad says you have to. Because what my I don't know if they ever said that, my parents, but kind of the feeling that they gave with me was, you have to be able to pay your bills. You have to be able to pay your bills.
Yeah.
It was never about ha- finding a purpose with what you were doing or having joy in what you're doing. It's just, go to work at, 8 to 5 or whatever it might be, and then pay your bills. That was
Mm.
it. That was kind of what was the goal.
Yeah, but that's the old paradigm around money, that
Mhm,
money is
mhm.
just there for you to strive and to work so hard so you can really make enough to just cover your bills and cover that. And it gives us really a sense of, a scarcity around and difficulties around making it. But
Mhm.
obviously, you write in your story differently. So today, as an entrepreneur, how are you, what are you, share about how did you launch your a company and how what are you doing as an entrepreneur?
So the first thing I was very, when I quit my job, I was very nervous and I was like, I had no clue what I wanted to do. I was just, I don't want anyone to feel the same way I feel today. I want, midlife, having pursued a career that you didn't want to have in the first place. So what I did was I want to hold workshops. This was pre-COVID. So I want to hold physical workshops for other women to dare follow their dreams. But what
Like
if I
that.
do that? Yeah, but what if I
Yeah.
do that? What if they then can like say, yeah, Josephine, I'm going to follow my dreams, and they quit their jobs and they come in financial difficulties. And I was like, am I then viable for that? Do I have
Wow.
to?
It's like too
Yeah,
big a promise, right? That's too big a
yeah,
promise. And it could be
exactly.
scary because you feel like, oh my God, I'm taking responsibilities of all these women who are following me because I said. But before we reach that, how much time did you take to actually pause after resigning and say, okay, I'm ready now. Let's go.
A year.
A
I, t-
year.
I so I found myself. I took a year to kind of find myself, but I was
Mm.
still in this corporate thinking. So
Mind.
I still
You were
applied
looking
for
for another
jobs.
job. Oh,
Yeah, I
really?
was looking for another job. I applied
Wow.
to jobs,
Mhm.
but I applied for them, like the old way, like
Yeah.
sending in applications.
Mm.
No, and I was really, as we are, like high performing, really invested a lot of time in writing
That's
these
it. You're
applications for
you're gonna
jobs
do
that
it
I
until you get it. That's it. You know how to do it. Yeah.
the
Yeah.
jobs I didn't want to have in the first place. But I was like, oh, I'm doing this. I'm doing this. I even went on interviews, and
Yeah.
but I think they can read between the lines because it's the whole energy that comes in an application. It's the energy that comes in a direct message when you send
Mhm.
something which is not really aligned with you. So once a year had passed, and I had started a coaching degree. So because I was like, if I want to help these women, I need to have a solid toolkit. So I had started a coaching degree, and but still in the mind, if I have a coaching degree, it's still good, when I take on my next leadership role.
Of course.
So I had started that, and fairly soon in that coaching degree, I realized how extremely effective coaching can be when it's done in the right way. So that
Absolutely.
is when this idea of starting your own business
Mhm.
really kicked off.
Kingdom.
And yeah, so then I launched officially. I tried to set up an online course. Took me 10 months, and I didn't manage to. I didn't manage because I didn't dare to talk to people. I
Yeah.
tried to set up something.
Because
I had
that's, yeah, of course. I mean, that's an entrepreneur. I mean, it's like you don't wake up, you're like, I'm an entrepreneur. You're going to be seven figure. You got to go through phases. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it wasn't until I invested myself in a business mentor where I had the accountability that really took me to the next step and the next step and the
Amazing.
next step. Yeah.
Mhm.
And also there, the first time I thought then, okay, I need to help the corporate women who are in the same situation that I had been. Turns out that they are rather my trigger clients because they are
Mhm.
not yet ready. I am the project manager who makes things happen, right? So
Right.
I I don't have the patience. There are other way better coaches than I am who can really take care and can really guide these women or men for that matter because there are also a lot of men who are in the same situation
Mhm.
to take the next step and to define um, the next career step, or if they want to start a business or whatever it might be, but that kind of like piece in between, and
Mhm.
then they come to me to define their very first offer.
Okay. So, what do you think is missing to everyone who wants to start an entrepreneur? What is that trigger that needs to be there for them to like, okay, I'm doing it. Let's go.
I think, you said it before, it's like the fear or the pain. You said the pain was so
Pain.
big, and I think
Mm.
the pain that we are experiencing in our current situation has to be bigger than the fear of the unknown. So
Okay.
when
Yeah.
so when
Very.
something yeah so when something so when I quit, I was like, I just have to get out of here. I just need to get out of here. My
Mm.
fear of having regrets
Missing out, of
of
missing out from being with
exactly
your father. Yeah.
was bigger than if I would have stayed in.
Yeah.
So that is, I think that is the trigger.
Yeah, which is really good, because I think that is a good way to really come to the last question that we wanted to discuss together, is that, at the end, your decision to go on and be an entrepreneur, go on and follow your dream, go on and launch a project or launch an initiative is not logical. It comes from an emotions. It's
Yeah,
all emotional. It's like
yeah,
you can find all the logic you want. You can do the swap analysis of whatever you want. That's not what's gonna really push you, isn't it?
yeah,
Never.
exactly, exactly.
Mm.
And I also, when I moved from my trigger clients, from these corporate women into serving entrepreneurs or other coaches, I showed up differently because
Yeah.
I had found the people that I want to work with. And that
Excellent.
is when you step into that, the people you really, really want to help, the people you really want to work with, you show up differently.
Of course.
And that also creates a different confidence level, right? So it and as you said, there are different steps you need to go through. You
Mm.
won't wake up one morning and you will know everything by heart.
Never. Never.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't start when you're good. You start and you get good at it. That's it. It's like
Yeah,
there is no secret. You just
yeah,
go on and get started. And then as you do things, you become better. You tweak things, you change them, and then you create whatever your dream life you wanted to create. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
It's a journey. It's not something that happens quickly. What does it take for you? How would you summarize what it is to be an entrepreneur?
Um, I think you have you have to have purpose, and I'm not saying your life purpose, but the purpose in what you're doing. I
Mm.
actually saw a series some days ago, and it was from New York, and they interviewed these different workers. There was this garbage man, and there was this person who managed the tracks in the subway, and there was this person who was on the central train station who guided the people. And every one of them, there were more people, but every one of them lit up when they spoke about their work, and
Wow.
they knew why they are doing this. They knew why they go to work every morning. You could see it in their face, and you could see it kind of like they were so proud of what they were doing. And I think that is what you need to find.
Mm.
Why do you want to be an entrepreneur? What is the purpose? And even if it's in a corporate role, what is your role in the big machine or the smaller machine that you're in? What
Mm.
is the purpose with what you're doing? Who are you helping in the long run? And that was what I missed, or I had forgotten about my in the big bank, because I was just one tiny person in a big organization. And what I was doing, even though it was really important,
Of
uh,
course. You
it
need to be proud
wasn't
of it, actually.
exactly yeah, but it wasn't taken seriously by some of my managers.
Yeah, well, that's because you needed to leave that place. So it wasn't
Yeah,
you. It was that women that needed to hear that and know that and feel that, so that you become the great Josephine you are today.
yeah,
And when you look at that this way, you're just proud of what you've gone through. And and you should salute. You really should be very proud of all what you've done, because it takes a lot of knowledge, resilience for women to reach high level in a banking system. It's a very male dominated system. And congratulations for having gone through that, because that's the wisdom, the knowledge that you're able to share and to bring as an entrepreneur. So it's priceless,
yeah.
really.
And that
Mm.
was also one of the reasons why I said I can do this. Was I had been successful in a career that I didn't want to have in the first place.
Mm.
Imagine how successful you can do, or you can become, when you're doing something that you really love doing. So that was kind of like, and those are kind of the motivational pieces that you have to have, like your purpose and your motivation why you're doing some things, because it will come rainy days when you will need to pull from that motivation.
Of course, yeah.
When things are not going your way, or things happen that are not as you expected, or you bump into one of these holes, you need to have that sense of purpose, and you need to have that motivation to keep you going.
Amazing. So, what would you like to say as a last word for, people watching us who are working on a 9 to 5 job, executives, but really they need that little push to be able to say, okay, let me do it. Let me jump to be in the entrepreneur waters.
Well, first of all, you don't need to jump. You don't need to quit your job like I did. For me, it was, there are people who do that, but you don't have to. Start small. But for me, it was like, oh, I don't have any energy. I can't do this in addition to, and I was scared. But start talking to people, because also when you start doing these things, you start to reprioritizing things, you get more energized about it. So
Yeah.
start taking small steps. Send that DM, book that call, buy that course, or register for that
Yeah.
program, whatever it might be that you currently have, at the back of your head, that little voice whispering that you should actually do this. Do that now. Take 5 minutes after this, after you watch this, and send that DM. Update your LinkedIn profile, or whatever it might be.
Yes.
They know what it is. They know the first step.
Amazing.
Do that.
I love that. This was so valuable. Very good.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much, Josephine. I loved our conversation. I'm sure a lot of people who watched us from Paris, from Morocco, from Bangladesh, from Oslo, from Casablanca, we've seen them from around the world. If this is something that can inspire you, you have a dream, go after it. It takes time, but when you believe, you keep on doing, and then you lead through it. Thank you so much for coming. I loved our conversation.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Hynd, for having me. And for everyone who hasn't reached out to Dr. Hynd yet, do that now, because she is the specialist too. Connect with her and send her a DM saying, I am ready.
Yeah,
on.
both of us. I mean, I think what's amazing is that this incredible, this industry is just full of amazing women, and you connect with them as you feel the energy, where you feel drawn, and just let your heart guide you. And you see what magic you can create through that. That's well done by everyone.
Thank you.